finally achieved one of my Honkai bucket list items, and that is getting #1 in the Memorial Arena, which I'm kind of happy with. I know it's what people would call an easy week, and it really is lucky for me because I got the equipment needed to actually push for the scores and put me in top 100, or I mean like #1 in the top 100, which, as you can also see, Akayuki, who's the one player who always is getting the #1 position, actually has the same score. I just locked the scores earlier, and I've kind of come really close to getting this in the past, but this is the first time I kind of locked the cap scores pretty early and realized it. And I happened to be playing close to reset when on the third day of the Memorial Arena, and so I managed to lock the score pretty quickly because, as I said, it is a pretty easy week, so most of the runs are not super complicated, which we'll go into a little bit later when I show the runs. But yeah, checked off #1 in the Memorial Arena. I'm actually very happy with it, even though it's a chill week. I don't think you're gonna see me ever push for it again, but you know, it's something that I've always wanted to do, just for the funsies. I didn't even think it was possible, but you know, thankfully I managed to do it. And I don't think I'll be pushing for, you know, stuff like Triple S after Triple S. I was just super lucky with, I think it's just a string of like good luck, you know, like fortunate events, because I got the trio using 100,000 crystals less than what we thought I would have been spending, and so that money carried over, and I managed to use it to get the Triple S of the Hash of Rebirth. Would I have pulled for her Triple S otherwise? Probably not, maybe Double S at best. And so yeah, it was because of that, and they were required for this week to kind of like push for the top scores. As you can see, not that many people got the cap scores, just 3 people for the Andrius fight, and I think like 4 people for the HoD fight, because, you know, it is kind of that 1 second, you do need that extra rank to push for that. And so if it were any other bosses that were more technical and kind of had like MHT, for example, where you just need a Triple S Hash of Thunder, or like Bright Knight, where also it's the Hash of Thunder, then it would be a lot more player skill. And I'm not saying like I'm a bad player or anything like that. I mean, I would say there are some runs that maybe I'm not as good as the other players, but it's kind of like, if you're willing to spend the time, if you're willing to push for that extra second, or you know, those kind of like intricacies in the fight, you can get there. But I do think like all these other players are they put in way more effort than I do, and therefore, you know, when it comes to those bosses, there's no way that I can beat them, and rightfully so. But yeah, I mean, I guess I finally got lucky, and I saw the opportunity and I grabbed it. So thank you all my senpais for giving me the chance to get the ranking and cross this off my Honkai bucket list. And yeah, so I'm happy. As for the Abyss, my highest was #2. I've gotten like #2, #3, #5-ish. All those kind of like ranking, top 7 at least. But I don't think I'll ever aim for #1, even though I've come really close, because Abyss is like a whole different level. You know, it's a lot of like, there's a cap score, yet there kind of isn't. Sometimes people technically can push for like 1 more point and stuff like that. It's just so much of a time sink. And I'm happy with what I got. You know, I didn't spend too much time pushing for that #2 position. I got it on stream when I was streaming on Twitch. Also, shout out to Ziazis, one of the top players in EU, and Fair Sky, who always ranks pretty high in SEA, who were in my chat and helped me out with the technicalities that I needed. Kronos also sometimes would hang out in the past to kind of help out. And yeah, I mean, Akayuki also, like, sometimes like I would ask people generally in Discord and they would answer. So yeah, shout out to all the other top players. And I'm happy that I got the chance to finally cross this off my bucket list. And so yeah, we're just gonna go into the fights, kind of talk a little bit about it. The goal was to destroy Andrius' paw. One with PE and the other with the weapon active. And then you kind of get into this phase where you're kind of locked into time. So the phase 1 is really where the crutch is. And after that, you're kind of like, it's kind of smooth going from here. And once you get into this time lock, you're basically done. You can run around for 30 seconds if you want, but yeah, the fight is basically ended. And yeah, what's really hard about this fight is phase 1, and it's not even like super hard actually. You just have to kind of catch the timing of when Andrius jumps, and then you have to use your QTE to break one paw, and you can't target both paws even if it's like a huge AoE skill, and that's where the difficulty is. So basically a lot of damage is dealt by Kiana, and Grania cannot do any damage because Andrius is immune to ice, and so the Hatch of Origin, Mei, is actually just, she doesn't even spend time in combat. As you can see, it's just 2 seconds. That's the whole goal, and that's why we re-equip her with her support equipment. You basically just want to release the Pulse Katanas to Mark with Trigonyev, and then on the second, some of you might not even have noticed, on the second switch in, you're kind of like spamming ulti to get Kiana's ulti trio QTE activated, and she comes back in, does a combo, and immediately goes into Absolute Time Fracture, and that's where, if you got the timing down in the Absolute Time Fracture, you'll know you got the fight, and if you don't, just restart. You don't even have to end it, because that's how that fight goes. Alright, so this fight is actually pretty easy. You do need some prerequisites, like you need Rebirth to at least be at S2 if you want to start with the ulti because of the SP requirement. But if you do meet those requirements, you're actually pretty peachy. You don't need a super high rank on PE just because she's OP with the damage she deals. But if you have a higher rank, you have a lot of advantages, like you don't need your ALP to give you damage and stuff like that. But basically, it's a rotationally locked fight, so you don't really need a super high rank in PE, which is your DPS. You actually need the higher rank you have for Rebirth, the better. And yeah, so basically this is the fight. I wasn't kidding when I said it was a fairly simple week. And so as you can see, all the damage from PE herself. And so, the funny thing about Prometheus here is she's not even actually like hitting the enemy. You're basically casting her stuff for the buffs, and that's why she has dealt 0 damage. And Rebirth, you don't really need to do damage of it. She's just there. Basically, Diana is the one like spinning around and doing the damage. And yeah, so Elf didn't really do anything because we didn't really cast. And yeah, I'm still pretty impressed that Rebirth did 10% of the damage. That's pretty insane. Alright, here we go. There we go. So you want an early, you want to kind of like cast at the proper timing for your spear. You want the cast animation to come out before the Doom spawns, so you can actually have the damage hit as soon as it spawns, and that also triggers your Time Fracture, so you're covered in Time Fracture. And then you want Susanna to actually come out, do her weapon active. That is to activate, in my case, I put D-Rack on her, so she can activate the evasion skill, which then gives her more SP. And as it's charging, you have Perseo come out, do her stuff, and then you have Sentience come out, do her stuff, and then so that Chainsword, basically the same mechanic as Susanna's ulti. You kind of want it to freeze time-ish while actually still moving. It's kind of like a bit of a weird mechanic. I do think it's intentionally put in there. And then you want the ulti of Sentience to kill that first phase Doom. And then Susanna just immediately comes in and does her ulti. And it kind of has like that time pause mechanic, but stuff are still moving because she's kind of like trapped in that animation. And so you're just killing the Dooms as they come out. And that's basically it. Seals you into that rotation. And once you've done all that, as you can see, Sentience did most of the fighting, I mean most of the damage. And there are so many multiple setups for this fight, you don't need a triple S Sentience. Everyone is basically bringing something different, which is really interesting because this is one of those fights where it just really doesn't matter. You kind of just need to meet the basic damage requirements, and everyone's just bringing like their own different sets, whatever it is that's available to them, right? And so I think I'm somewhere down here, and so this is my setup. Not very different from like most of the other people who are, you know, yeah. Some people, I guess, they needed more damage on Sentience because mine is triple S, so I don't have to focus that much. I kind of put her more on like the support side, but I think that may be a little bit overkill. But yeah, that kind of seals the deal, and I'm just really glad. So this is probably just the one time I'm getting this. Cross that off my Honkai bucket list, and I'm really happy with it. So yeah, I'm actually back to like what the channel is doing. I know I haven't been posting a lot recently, and I've actually been doing a lot of stuff on the back end for content. And once that's out in probably like a month, I'll be active on the channel again. But I know it's kind of weird not seeing me post and just like dropping a video here and there, but I have been really active in the game. I feel like some people have thought I quit the game, but I really haven't. I'm still doing like the translations for the dev stream and stuff like that. So yeah, to whoever's watching, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys real soon. Bye-bye!